We wouldn't usually compare the movie La La Land and Sunset Boulevard because there's a 70-year gap between the two films. However, if you really think about it and look beyond the first glance, these two films talk about the same issues of Hollywood disillusionment. What I mean by that is that they both focus on the idea of dreams. And dreams that are meant to be not just broken, but that are broken by facing reality.
All right, Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up.
It's funny how both these titles deal with the idea of the glamorous Hollywood. However, both of these films don't really talk about what the glamour of it is. They kind of show a harsh reality of what it is to be in Hollywood. Yes, the title La La Land is a very fun, playful name to mention LA. We also have the title of Sunset Boulevard, which is one of the main glamorous streets in Hollywood that we all remember and that we all think about whenever we think about Hollywood. So both these titles are kind of referring to very popular landmarks and sites in Hollywood, but both of these films kind of reflect the ugly side, or at least the realistic side of Hollywood that is just not as glamorous and as beautiful as we all may think. In the case of La La Land, we follow the stories of Mia and Sebastian that fall in love with each other in just a perfect way. We all know from the beginning that they are just a perfect couple that want to help each other be successful in Hollywood and in their dreams. However, these dreams are quite hollow because they don't bring them together. They actually pull them apart because they sacrifice their own relationships in order for their dreams to be successful. And for the case of Sunset Boulevard, we follow the character of Joe, which is a screenwriter that strives to make bigger films than just B films. He meets this character called Norma Desmond, which was a silent actor that is kind of forgotten in Hollywood at this point. She struggles with the idea of thinking that she's a star that is still remembered and that is still loved, but she doesn't want to face reality and go outside to see that people don't really remember her anymore.
I am big. It's the pictures that got small.
Joe and her go in a kind of toxic relationship between one another, and it really falls into a tragic ending, kind of like it was in La La Land. All this to say that La La Land and Sunset Boulevard both reflect the idea of disillusionment toward the Hollywood machine, through the representation of the way that dreams can often be hidden by what reality really is. Both of these films focus on what they have versus what they want. For La La Land, we really go between the idea of idealism that we see often in the musical scenes and the colors that are going through, and also the harsh cut reality that is often shown into the harsh cuts between what is real and what is, fake. So we especially see this in the party scene where Mia is hanging out with a bunch of Hollywood people, a bunch of different primary colors all around them. The scene kind of ends with a big splash in the pool, but then a harsh cut of a parking sign, which is saying that Mia's car has been towed. It's all of these kinds of cuts that comes over and over again that just shows like the harsh cut and the harsh reality. It's just a simple example to show that, we often have to confront reality and that dreams aren't just perfect in the way that Hollywood often likes to show them. The colorful segments in La La Land are very interesting, actually. You see, through the beginning of the movie, especially with Mia, she's often dressed in very beautiful primary colors, and she's also surrounded by the people that also see the glamorous dreams, just like her friends that are also in her apartment and all want to be an actress like her. However, I think the primary colors are kind of trying to show the surface of what Hollywood is really like. It's really reflective of the dream that is not really true. And as we go throughout the film, it kind of is reflective in the way that Mia is dressed. At the end of the film, Mia's more in grayish tones, or at least neutral tones, that really shows the reality of how hollow her dreams are really like. So at the end of the film, when Sebastian and Mia see each other at the bar, she gets this dream, or at least this wish. So we see all these perfect, beautiful colors that, it's one of the most colorful segments of the whole film, where she's dreaming about what would have been like to have a life with him, a perfect life with him, but that is just not possible because of the dreams that she wanted to accomplish. But then it harshly cuts at Mia looking at Sebastian, and how so much unsaid, but that is so well said through the way that this shot is composed. It's so harshly different from what was seen into the dream. So this is, I think, is like a harsh cut to reality. It's to face that dreams can't always be fulfilled. Yes, ambitious dreams can be fulfilled, but wishes, such as wishing to go back with Sebastian and seeing what the life would have been like, aren't always possible. So it's to see how is she accepting the truth, to face the disillusionment of not pursuing the relationship in face of pursuing their ambitions. This is done similarly through Sunset Boulevard as well, that the disillusionment is really represented through the choice of characters and especially casting. Now we know that Norma Desmond is played by Gloria Swanson, which was also a Hollywood actress in silent films. But as we know kind of through history, the silent film actors were often left aside. They weren't really used for the talkie films because sometimes their voices weren't right, or they just weren't really seen for the talkie movies. Gloria Swanson was one of those actors that was put aside. By casting Gloria Swanson as the main actress, it really reflects what is happening in reality and putting it into a fiction film. Now yes, Norma Desmond is not a real person, but choosing Gloria Swanson, which was forgotten just like Norma Desmond is very important because it really emphasizes the disillusionment of Hollywood stardom. Now like Mia, that wishes of her relationship with Sebastian, Norma wishes about vanity and youth, and she wishes to gain that back. So she does all these treatments to look like she was when she was younger, so that she hopefully can be casted again into a picture, and that she can be loved and appreciated just like she thinks that she is. But this is a dream or a wish that might never be, or at least will never be, fulfilled because Hollywood casted her aside. And this is really reflective in the scene that she goes back to Paramount Studio and all the actors around are just so excited and they go see her just like kind of like an object in a museum. They just recognize her through this object of who she is. They're just going to think of her as just someone that they saw and that it's nothing important anymore. And this is kind of reflective of what we think about of elders and not just through film, but also through life.
Norma, you're a woman of 50. Now grow up. There's nothing tragic about being 50. Not unless you try to be 25.
There's this obsession of looking young and of vanity and what people look like, and that oftentimes elders are cast aside. Norma is just rejecting that reality of aging and also of not being able to be represented in pictures anymore. And because talkies are what is there at the moment, that's what it is, and she only is open to the past, which was silent films, but she doesn't seem to be open about the future and facing reality of how times are changing. So Norma is just stuck into this idea of the past, and she's just living in this lie. She's stuck in her own idealism and world of being and wishing that she was young again and that she was loved and cared for because she was a star. But was she actually really cared for? Because I think what this movie is trying to show is that Hollywood will never actually care about you. They'll just cast you, take a lot of money from what you do, and then move on because they want to keep making the illusion of what people think Hollywood is. The glamour, the beauty, the fun of it. This is what people want to think of when they think about Hollywood. But these two movies are showing and facing the reality of what Hollywood it really is. Now there's a scene in La La Land that's really reflective of one of my favorite films, which is called Vertigo. Now this scene in particular is when Mia and Sebastian are having a fight about their sacrifices that they're taking in order to fulfill their dreams. And in the room, there's a green light outside of the window that's very reflective and very similar to the way that the scene in Vertigo is when Judy is dressed in Madeline. He is faced with the reality at this point in the film that is just so disappointing, with basically being lied that Judy was playing Madeline. Now, this is a little bit similar to the way that I think this scene was made in La La Land. I mean, Sebastian is fighting with Mia because Sebastian is trying to fulfill his dream of opening this jazz bar, but Mia is telling him that he's not really doing that, he's not really accomplishing this just because he's taking the sacrifices of getting money to work for a band that he doesn't really enjoy and that he doesn't really like the music that he's playing. So she's trying to make him face the reality of the illusion that he's creating, that he needs to play this music to get money in order to fulfill his dreams. But I think there's something very interesting in the scene that is trying to be said about illusion, the illusion of the dream, and that oftentimes it's so hollow. It's just trying to warn, I think, that the illusion of the dream that we create for ourselves is not really what we want. What should have been focused on is the relationship between me and Sebastian, and not sacrificing that relationship in order to fulfill their hollow dreams. As for Mia, she's sacrificing her financial security to make her play, which of course is not something that was very successful. At least it is what made her be recognized and gain her big role in the future. But it is something that she sacrifices in order to create or make her own dreams. But as she makes the script and Sebastian is playing his terrible music, as he says, they're doing these things that they don't really love because they think that this is what will make their dreams come to reality. And yes, it is those things that will help them get their dreams a reality. While they're doing that, they're not happy in the process of gaining their dreams. So when you're not happy in the process of building your dream, is your dream really what you want? When your dream becomes a reality, is that so glamorous and fun as you think that it would have been when you were in the process of getting that dream happen? We work so hard for the dreams that we want to do, but sometimes our dreams are just so hollow and they're not really what makes us happy. Because what really made them happy was just being together and being just a couple that just supports one another in what they want to do. And once they forgot that, that's really what put them apart. This is kind of similar to the relationship that Joe has with Betty. They're supporting each other's ambition. He has an illusion on him about, thinking that he needs to do this bad script. He thinks that he needs to sacrifice his own life just because he thinks that this will help him achieve his dreams of being, happy in the glamorous life of Hollywood and at least recognized as an important screenwriter. But what he should have done is really be in the idealized, perfect world where he would have just stayed with Betty and work on each other's ambitions to create this amazing script that really made him excited about life and happy once more. He could have chosen to be happy in the process of making his dream happen, but he did choose to be kind of miserable and sacrifice things that he loved in order to, end up having a tragic ending in the end as well. He always wanted to have a pool, but at least he got it. But it's so hollow that he got his pool in this way.
The poor dope. He always wanted a pool. Well, in the end, he got himself a pool. Only the price turned out to be a little high.
So, Sunset Boulevard and La La Land are two films that you wouldn't really compare at first glance. However, they both mention the same kind of ideas about the issues of Hollywood disillusionment. Now, thank you for watching this video essay about Sunset Boulevard and La La Land. I hope that you got to learn a little bit about these two films and that you enjoyed watching. Thank you!